All right, we are going to finish tearing this motor down. So we've got the rear cylinder ready to come off here. We removed these 3 Allens, and now we're just gonna lift up on it. All right, that's the rear cylinder. And the same way to get this pin out as the front. Grab a small pick or a small screwdriver, get in behind that circlip, and I try to keep my finger over top of it to keep it from flying, but pull it there, and then you can just use your finger a lot of times to push that out. And this piston looks to be in good condition. We'll go ahead and put that circlip back in as well, get that all ready to go. We've got your cam chain here for the rear, and this is able just to pull right out of there like that. So we remove the pin that holds it in there, and that is right here, that pin was, and that holds the rear cam chain on there. So we'll kind of keep all that together, and now we're able to get the guide out. And then we'll flip to the other side. Well, we might do a couple more things on this side before we pull that other clutch cover off and remove that other guide. So we've got an oil line over here too that we can remove with the same Allen. So we'll go ahead and do that at this time. We'll loosen one up here, and it's a copper colored line. And it just takes 2 Allens to remove it. So all right, those are off. Now what we're going to do, we're going to remove this back drive yoke here. And what I do is I grab a smaller screwdriver, and you're going to take these clips off, this one here and this one here. Take the screwdriver, find the end of the clip here, and tap on it. Now sometimes, this is doing, that clip's just going to spin around there. So you take 2 of the same screwdriver, same size, and tap it so you tap on both sides of that clip, and it'll just pop right out of there. Do the same thing on this one. We're going to flip this motor over, or flip this yoke over to get to it a little bit better. Sometimes if they're rusty especially, they'll catch, and then you're able to get them both out. But this one's in good enough condition to where we're going to use both screwdrivers. And a lot of times these pins will go flying, so I like to loosen them up and then take my screwdriver, hold my hand behind it, and catch it. So now we've got this cap, this clip off and this clip off. We can take this yoke and tap it out. So what you're going to do now is tap down on this yoke here, on this yoke. Your cap will come out there. Then turn your motor over, do the same thing on this side. Tap this cap out, and that is off there. Now, grab a socket. $19mm. Remove this yoke here. And it's got an O-ring back in here which kind of keeps it from coming out. You can take if you're replacing that O-ring, you can take a pick there and pry it out. You don't want to damage that if you're going to reuse that O-ring. Now going back together, kind of the same thing. Stick it in here like this. A lot easier to do it on a vise, but we'll try to get the same thing done here. And then I take and I'll tap down on that cap. Kind of holding up on that yoke so those pins don't go everywhere. All right, those are in. Now we'll just get them down far enough to where we can get those clips on there. We've got a couple 12mm bolts, 3 12mm bolts back here to remove that cover. And we probably won't do a whole lot. This is aluminum, so just be really careful. I don't even like to tap on it at all, but sometimes they just won't come out without tapping on it. So we've got a spacer in here that sits on there. Evidently that was stuck to here because it kind of came out, but common problem for these bearings to go bad. These are constantly spinning. Obviously you're going down the road. So, all right, we'll flip this motor over now and we'll remove the clutches, clutch pack. We're catching on that, looks like that ball or that rod that I was telling you in the first video. Block to set underneath here to hold this up so you're able to see it. We'll just rest that on that crank there. So, maybe we won't. All right, this is a chrome cover here with a lot of Allens. So we're going to put it on an impact. Hopefully save some time here. All right, I wasn't counting, but there's a lot of them. All right, that covers off, and that's just a cover that holds the oil filter cover on here. So you do have to remove that. You don't have to remove these 3 smaller Allens here to do that, but you've got your oil filter under here, and it's sealed with an O-ring, so just be careful pulling that apart. And your oil filter obviously sits back in there. Clutch cover, a lot of times they're sealed up really well, which is what you want, but take a little hammer and just tap on it. A lot of times you'll break that seal and be able to pull that off. There's your clutch assembly there. And we've got your bottom sprocket here, your bottom gear for your cam chain. We can now remove that. And it's the same as the rear on taking that apart. So 10mm will hold that pin holder in. Take that pin out. This is for the front cylinder here, so then just slide that off there. And we'll go ahead and put that with the front pieces there. Your guide, this is the back guide on the front cylinder. Loosen them up and pull that guide. That'll complete that step. We'll remove that clutch pack next. These bikes can go a lot of miles. One of the first things you'll replace is the clutch plates. Front guide's off there. Oil filter just pops out. This gear here sits on that crank. It's got a holder that holds that nut from spinning off. All right, now we'll go ahead and remove that clutch. So 10 millimeter. Friction plates is what wears the most on these. Keep that in mind. Steel plates, you can replace them a lot of times. A lot of aftermarket companies will sell them with the steel and friction plates together, and you can just buy it that way. Here's a cover here, and then underneath here will be another nut. So make sure this is a bearing washer here that sits on there underneath that plate. So does this washer here. Again, same thing. Take and smash down that little clip. If sometimes you're able to reuse these clips once, but once is about max. And if you're ordering parts from Kawasaki, just order that clip as well, so that you're not having to try reusing it. Here's what your rod that we were dealing with from the other side, that's what that pushes against. Got inch and 3/16 to remove this one. Now what I like to do then, remove this washer here. It's a holder as well. But then I like to go ahead and put this back together. And I'll show you why here in a second. Put your springed piece on here. Millimeter snuggies up. Now you're able just to pull this whole piece out at once. So if you're just needing the basket off of there or something, put that back together. It holds all these into place, holds the center into place, so you're not fighting getting those back on, not having to do one at a time. So then you're able just to pull that basket off just like that. So, and that clutch is in very good condition. This is a low hour motorcycle here. All right, we'll grab a bigger socket for that there. We'll go ahead and remove this. These Phillips here, this is an impact driver. A lot of times on these motors, they've got some Phillips down in the bottom end. Sometimes they're too tight. They've got, like this one here, red Loctite. And to break those free, impact driver is about the best way to do that. we'll grab a socket for that. We'll go ahead and pull the Allens off around the outside and split this case. We'll see if this does it. It is 1.5 inches and it's too big. But I don't have anything smaller than that close by. It was able to come off. It's just regular threads, so left hand, when it wasn't coming at first, I switched it to C. Alright, let's go. Feel it moving up here just little by little. Alright, these are spring loaded, which is why it wasn't coming up easy, which I kind of wondered, because that's behind our starter drive. It was, behind our flywheel, it's kind of the same gear setup as this. Remove that keeper here, otherwise that will not allow us to split that case. Alright, we've got a couple Allens on the bottom. Protecting this sensor. Three in the back here. This sensor here, we'll just kind of work on both sides here to remove it. It's held in there with an O-ring, sealed with an O-ring, which we'll just have to kind of walk it out there. And that sensor is out. Alright, we'll flip this motor back over. I think we have all the Allens out here, oh, we've got two more up here we need to do yet. I'm going to remove these oil lines here so we don't break these.